Alrighty, we are in Chapter 2, Lesson 7 for IM1. This is called Percent of Change. So Section 6 was about ratios and proportions, which we're still going to use in this section. We're just applying it to a slightly different concept, which is usually we kind of do this with money when we're doing, we have a percent increase. If we're selling something, we have a percent decrease. If we're getting money off, we have a coupon, or if there's a sale, something like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at these pieces. So there's a lot of little graphics on here. So percent of increase is when the original price is lower than the new price. Okay, I was mixing that up in my head as I said that. So it's not really the original price. I think this would be more like original cost. I'm going to cross that off. I think that's what was messing with my head a little bit. So percent of increase is a little bit more like if you were running a store and you were selling something, if you bought it for $5, you're not also going to sell it for $5. You're going to sell it for more, so you make money off of it. It's a percent of increase, so it's your profit off of that item, however much you spent on it. So the price would go up, or from your cost is what this means. It's just a little smiley face, like, this is what it means. Then we have a percent of decrease. So that's when the original price is higher than the new price. So this is, the original price is lower, meaning that it's going up. The price is going up. Now, the original price is higher than the new price, so the price is going down. And this is definitely price. It's not price or cost or anything like that. It's definitely price. And what this is like, you have a coupon or a discount or something along those lines, so you're paying less. The price is going down. So it's just the difference between did it increase or did it decrease. If we scooch down here, this is what we want to use when we're calculating the percent of change, is this formula here. So percent over 100, and hopefully we can make that connection, 100%. So we use what is the percent that we're talking about, and they'll give us that in the problem, and I'll show you that in a moment on the next screen. So we'll be able to figure that out, or a lot of the time we're trying to figure out what is the percent right now. What is the percent of change, and is it positive or is it negative? So increase or decrease. On the other side of our proportion here, we need to do the new price minus the original price, and this should tell us right away, is it going up or down? Because if it's if the new price is bigger than the original price, well, that means it went up. So it's an increase. If the new price is less than the original price, this is going to be negative, and the price went down. So it just kind of gives us a really quick increase or decrease idea there. And then we divide this whole thing by the original. So let's go ahead and practice this on the next screen here. Boop. Okay, so determine whether each percent of change is a percent of increase or decrease. So we just have to note, is it going up or down? Which we should be able to know right at the end if it's positive or negative. If it's negative, it's decreasing. If it's positive, it's increasing. So this should be pretty obvious to us. We can also just take a look at what's happening in these kind of very simple numbers here, but we can determine that at the beginning too. So, and then we're going to find the percent of change. So here we have an original price of 66 and the new price is 30. Well, that's definitely going down. That's a decrease. Decrease. So I know it's going to be a percent of decrease, which tells me I should end up with a negative answer when I get to the end of this. So let's go ahead and write out our little formula there. We have percent over 100. And I like to use my dramatic little percent sign for whatever reason. You don't have to. You could replace that with a P if you want for percent, or an X if you like the X variable. The only variables you really don't want to use would be O or I. I guess lowercase l also, because those look like numbers, right? Depending on how you write them. But O definitely looks like a 0, and I or L could look like a 1. So we want to be careful with those, but you can really use anything you want. So my variable is actually the percent sign. That's what I'm using. Equals, so remember it's new minus original. So new minus original divided by the original. So that's always the pattern we use. Now that we have it set up, let's throw my equal sign here. We cross multiply just like we did on the last section. So cross multiplication, I have percent times 66 and 100 times 30 minus 66. Now, can I do this 30 minus 66 real quick before I multiply? Can I simplify that? Sure, I can. I'm going to go ahead and write it here so that we can actually see it. I could have subtracted these ahead of time before multiplying, but it's perfectly fine that they're not. Oh, I just realized that changed my color. I changed it. I think I was going to do it, and then I changed my mind there. 30 minus 66. There we go. Now it's right color. I just wanted to match the little circles here. So now I have 66, and I'm going to leave it as times the percent. I'm being dramatic, so you know it's not 66%. This is my my variable. So on the next ones, I'll probably go ahead and use a p so you can see what I'm saying. It's just a variable. So this could be p, all right, instead. So I'll just change it now so that it's the variable p for percent instead of the percent sign, so that's not confusing. And actually, if I do that, I don't need that dot anymore. I can just go 66p, like that. I only put the dot there so that it didn't look like it was 66%. That's not quite what it is yet. So 66p equals, I could do this distribution here, like this, which is something that we've practiced before. But I can also simplify in the parentheses and have 100 times 30 minus 66. And we just subtract. 30 minus 66 is 36, negative 36. So I'm going to leave that in parentheses just so we know it's negative. We're multiplying by negative 36. So again, this tells me that's a decrease. That's a negative sign there. So we have 66p equals negative 36 times 100. That one's usually pretty easy too. You just move the decimal here over 2 times. You kind of combine the zeros. So we have negative 3600. And now I'm going to divide by 66 on both sides because that's the opposite of what I'm doing here. I'm multiplying by p, or 66 and p, so I'm going to divide because these cancel. And I have p equals 3600 divided by 66 is 54. Do they want whole numbers? They didn't tell us that necessarily. So I'll go ahead and go out to a tenth here. It's 54.5%, and it's negative 54.5%. So the only thing, and I believe that you're going to do this on Alex, you're not actually going to type in negative 54%. You're going to type in 54.5%. And you're going to indicate that it's a decrease in change. So I don't think you're going to put negative, if I remember correctly. You're just going to type the percent of change, which is 54.5%, and then say it's a decrease. So let's go to the next one. We have original, we have new, so it was 9.8, now it's 12.1. Well, that's going, sorry, I have my cord in the way here. That's going up, right? Because it was smaller, now it's bigger, so this is an increase. So I can know that right away. I'm going to end up with a positive at the end. So now I have percent over 100 equals my new minus my original. New minus original divided by the original price. All right, we have our proportion set up. So we go cross multiply p times 9.8, and I'm just going to put this in the right order here, 9.8p. So I just kind of skipped this little step here. Instead of writing the little dot, I'm just smushing them together. And then I'm going to go back up here and show you what I mean. We could have done this negative 36 up at the top. So I can do the same thing here. 12.1 minus 9.8. And what does that get us? 2.3. So I'm going to cross this off and write 2.3. Instead of multiplying these by 100, I'm just going to do 2.3 times 100. All right, so equals, like that, 100 times 2.3. And this guy's positive when I subtracted new from original, which again indicates that increase. All right, so we're going to multiply by 100. Really just means move this decimal 1, 2 times. So we have, let me switch over back to blue. So 9.8p equals 230, because that's what we get when we multiply by 100. Again, I know it's 2 zeros, so I can just go 1, 2, and move that pretty quickly without having to use a calculator there. And then I'm multiplying by 9.8, so I'm going to divide by 9.8. That's division. So 9.8 divided by 9.8 cancels. Any number divided by itself cancels out, becomes 1. So now I do 230 divided by 9.8. And we get 23, whoops, I don't know why I wrote just 3, 23.5%. And it's positive, which tells me it's an increase. Again, I'm pretty sure on Alex, make sure you're looking at those directions when you first start. It'll tell you whether or not it's expecting to see the negative on the positive on the percent, or if you just write the percentage and then indicate decrease or increase. So make sure you're paying attention to the directions on there, just to make sure you type it in correctly. But I'm just kind of being dramatic with putting the negative and then indicating the positive so that we can see very easily. If it's negative, that means decrease. If it's positive, that means increase. All right, couple more of these. So we have percent over 100 equals new minus original. So we had 24, now we have 40. That looks definitely like it's going up. This is going to be an increase. So we have new minus old or original divided by original. So before I start multiplying, I'm going to do that simplification really quick. I just have 40 minus 24 on the top. So I can go 40 minus 24, and I get 16. I'm going to cross that off and say, okay, this is 16. I know that. Now, I can start cross multiplying. P times 24, I get 24p. And 100 times 16, and you don't necessarily have to write it out like this either. If you say 100 times 16, okay, well, that would move the decimal over 2 times, that's 1600. That's perfectly fine. You can do that. Just make sure if you start kind of skipping these steps that you understand what's going on there. Okay, because that might be a question that you're asked in class or, by a teacher. Say, okay, well, how did you get 1600? Explain it to me. Oh, I multiplied 116 and I just did it in my head. Or I used a calculator, however you did it. I just multiplied them and wrote down the answer instead of writing it out piece by piece so that you could see it. So just be aware, it depends on the teacher definitely, though. You may be asked those types of questions, so make sure you understand so you can explain yourself. All right, so we're going to start to solve this guy, or we are going to solve it. So we're multiplying by 24. We're going to divide by 24 on both sides. 24 divided by 24 is 1, right? That cancels out, so p's by itself, it just comes down. Because we don't need to write 1p. I know I've said that before, but I haven't said it in this video. It's not wrong to write 1p, but you don't need it there. In fact, Alex will tell you that's not necessary. And then we're going to do 64 divided by 24. And we get 66 point, and it's a repeating decimal. Kind of goes on and on forever. So I'm just going to round it to 7. And this is positive, so I know, again, this is an increase. This went up 66.7%. All right, next one, or last one, we have percent over 100. Remember, that should, by now, we should just be able to know that's how we start. Percent over 100. It's just the other side that changes a little bit based on the numbers they give us. So it was 500. Now it's 131. That's definitely going down. That's a huge decrease. So decrease. So new minus original divided by the original. All right, and then we can do this simplification real quick. 130 minus 500. So it specifically went down $369. And again, it's negative. It's going down by that much. All right, so now we can start doing our cross multiplication here, right? So we'll have P times 500. So 500P equals, and we're going to have 100 times negative 369. So that's negative 369. I wrote that a little high, but that's okay. I'll scooch this down in a minute. 369, remember, is moving the decimal over 2 times. So I can just go 0, 0. And put my comma in. It's negative 36,900. So let me scooch this up because it kind of scooted down. Boop. Okay. All right. So my decimal, or my equal sign's a little high. I don't know why I threw it up there so high, but that's fine. So we're multiplying by 500. I'm going to divide by 500. Boop, like that. 500 divided by 500, just like all these other ones, cancels down to 1. Remember, I could go cross, cross, and I'm just doing 369 divided by 5. So it's really not a big deal in there if you do the whole number divided by 500, or if you realize, oh, I can cancel off those zeros and still get the same answer. So it's going to be negative 73.8%. Negative meaning decrease. So I'm kind of confirming that each time. Yep, I do in fact have a negative percentage, which means it went down. All right, that was section 7. I will see you in section 8.